The research ship Discovery moved slowly through the dark space between stars. Dr. Park-Soo stood at the main window, watching the distant lights of a new star system. This was her first time leading a contact mission. After 20 years of studying alien life, she finally had her chance to meet a new species. "We're getting close to their space," said Captain Lee Bin from behind her. He was a good man, Park-Soo thought, not like some military officers who wanted to shoot first and ask questions later. Lee Bin believed in peaceful contact, just like she did. The Discovery carried 200 people. Most were scientists, but there were also diplomats, doctors, and engineers. Everyone was excited. Finding new intelligent life was always special, but this species was different. They had been sending signals into space for thousands of years. Their technology seemed very advanced. "What do we know about them again?" asked Kang Yi, the young communications officer. She had just joined the crew 6 months ago, fresh from the academy. Park-Soo smiled. "They call themselves the Velthari. From what we can tell, they're made of some kind of crystal material. They've been around for a very long time. Much longer than humans have been in space." "Are they friendly?" Kang Yi asked. "We don't know yet," Lee Bin said. "That's what we're here to find out." The ship moved deeper into Velthari space. They passed several planets that glowed with strange blue light. Park-Soo had never seen anything like it. The planets looked like giant jewels floating in space. "Incoming transmission," Kang Yi announced. Her voice was excited. "It's from the Velthari." "Put it on the main screen," Lee Bin ordered. The screen flickered, then showed something that made everyone gasp. The Velthari looked like walking diamonds. They were tall, maybe 8 feet, and their bodies seemed to be made of clear crystal that sparkled with inner light. When they moved, light danced through their bodies in beautiful patterns. The lead Velthari spoke. Its voice was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Greetings, organic creatures. We are the Velthari Empire. You have entered our space without permission." Park-Soo stepped forward. "We are humans from Earth. We come in peace. We want to learn about your people and share knowledge." The Velthari made a sound that might have been laughter, but it sounded more like breaking glass. "Peace? Knowledge? How amusing. You are nothing but organic waste. Carbon-based life is the lowest form of existence." Lee Bin frowned. This wasn't going as planned. "We mean no harm. We only want to talk." "Talk?" The Velthari's light grew brighter, and its voice became sharp. "Organics do not talk to their superiors. They obey or they are removed." Park-Soo felt her heart beating faster. "We don't understand. We just want to be friends." "Friends?" The word came out like an insult. "We do not befriend parasites. Your ship will surrender now. You will come to our world so we can show you the proper way for organics to behave." Captain Lee Bin looked at his crew. Everyone was nervous now. The Velthari didn't seem interested in peace. "What happens if we refuse?" The screen showed more Velthari appearing behind the first one. They all seemed to glow brighter when they heard the question. "Then we will take your ship by force, and your punishment will be much worse." Lee Bin made a quick decision. The Discovery was a research ship, not a warship. They had no real weapons. "We'll come peacefully, but we want your promise that our people will be safe." The Velthari made that breaking glass sound again. "Your people will be educated. You will learn your place in the natural order." The transmission ended. The crew looked at each other with worry in their eyes. This was not what anyone had expected. "Maybe they're just being careful," Park-Soo said, trying to sound hopeful. "Some species are suspicious of strangers at first, but Lee Bin had been in space longer than most. He had met many alien species. Something felt very wrong about the Velthari. Their attitude reminded him of some of the worst humans he had known, the kind who thought they were better than everyone else. The Discovery followed Velthari ships to their main world. The planet was beautiful and terrible at the same time. The surface was covered in crystal cities that reached up like frozen lightning. But there was something cold about it. No plants, no animals, no sign of any life except the Velthari themselves. When they landed, Velthari soldiers surrounded the ship. They moved like dancers, but there was nothing gentle about them. Each soldier carried weapons that looked like crystal spears. "Remember," Li Bin told his crew, "we're here for peaceful contact. Stay calm and follow their rules." The humans left their ship with their hands empty and visible. Park Soo carried only a small device for translating languages. She hoped this was just a misunderstanding that could be fixed with patience and good manners. The Velthari led them to a large building in the center of their city. Inside, the walls were covered with strange symbols that glowed with soft light. It might have been beautiful if not for what happened next. More Velthari appeared, but these ones were different. They were bigger and brighter than the others. Their leader stepped forward and looked down at the humans like they were insects. "I am High Commander Velnash of the Eternal Empire. You organics will now learn why crystal life rules the galaxy." "We're honored to meet you," Park Soo said, bowing slightly. "We hope we can learn from each other." Velnash made a sound like a crystal bell cracking. "Learn? You will learn pain. You will learn fear. You will learn that organic life exists only to serve its betters." Without warning, the Velthari soldiers attacked. They moved faster than the humans could react. Crystal spears hit several crew members, but the weapons didn't kill. Instead, they sent waves of agony through the human bodies. Park Soo fell to the ground, screaming. The pain was like nothing she had ever felt. It burned through her nerves, like liquid fire. Around her, other crew members were falling too. "Stop!" Captain Li Bin shouted. "We surrender. We'll do whatever you want." "Yes, you will," Velnash agreed. "Because now you will be examples. Your species sent you to contact us. We will send a message back to show them what happens when organics think they can speak to their superiors as equals." The Velthari began, separating the humans into groups. Children and elderly first, then the others. Park Soo tried to reach for a young engineer who was crying in fear, but a crystal spear sent more pain through her body. "Your people will watch," Velnash announced. "They will see what we do to organics who forget their place. Then they will submit to the natural order or they will share your fate." As the Velthari dragged the screaming humans deeper into their crystal city, none of them knew that this moment would change everything. They didn't know that this act of cruelty would wake something in humanity that had been sleeping. Something that, once awakened, would not stop until every last Velthari was gone from the galaxy forever. The last thing Park Soo saw before the crystal doors closed was Kang Yi being pulled away by glowing hands. The young woman was calling for help, but no help was coming, not yet. Admiral Kim Do was having breakfast when the message arrived. He was a quiet man who had spent 40 years keeping peace in human space. He believed in talking before fighting, in finding solutions that didn't end with people dying. That was about to change. "Sir, we have an emergency transmission from deep space," his aide said. The young officer looked pale and sick. It's from the Velthari." Kim Do set down his coffee. "The new species? Aren't our people trying to make contact with them?" "Yes, sir. The discovery mission, but sir, you need to see this." The admiral followed his aide to the command center. Other officers were already there, staring at screens with expressions of horror and rage. Kim Do had never seen his people look like this before. "Play the transmission," he ordered. What he saw in the next 30 minutes changed everything he believed about peace and civilization. The Velthari had not just captured the Discovery crew. They had turned their suffering into entertainment. The crystal beings had built what they called a lesson arena. They forced the human crew to fight each other for small pieces of food. Park Soo, the gentle scientist, was made to watch as they hurt the children first. Captain Li Bin was forced to choose which of his crew would be tortured next. But it got worse. Much worse. The Velthari didn't just want to hurt the humans. They wanted to break their spirits completely. They made the adults watch as they did terrible things to the youngest crew members. They made parents choose between saving their own children or saving others. Through it all, they broadcast everything. They sent the signal to every human colony, every space station, every ship. The message was clear. This is what happens when organic life thinks it can speak to crystal beings. As equals, Admiral Kim Do watched it all. He watched Park Soo try to protect a teenage intern. He watched Captain Lee Bin beg for mercy that never came. He watched his people suffer in ways that no living thing should ever suffer. When it ended, the command center was silent. Some officers were crying. Others looked like they wanted to vomit. All of them looked angry in a way that Kim Do had never seen before. "Sir," whispered his communications officer, "every human colony is receiving this. Every ship, every station, everyone is watching." Kim Do stood quietly for a long moment. Then he walked to the main console and activated Emergency Protocol Omega. He had never used it before. No human admiral had ever used it. All fleet commanders, all colony governors, all station commanders, he said into the microphone. His voice was calm, but there was something new in it, something cold and hard. "We have a situation." Across human space, the reaction was immediate and total. On Earth, factories that made cars and computers suddenly started making weapons and ammunition. On the farming worlds, people left their fields to join the military. On the research stations, scientists stopped studying peaceful things and started studying ways to kill crystal beings. Colonel Oh-jun was leading a training exercise on Mars when the transmission reached his unit. He was a professional soldier, trained to stay calm in any situation. But when he saw what the Velthari were doing to civilians, something snapped inside him. "Sir?" asked one of his soldiers. "What are your orders?" Oh-jun looked around at his troops. They were all watching him, waiting. These were good people, trained to protect others. Now they had seen their own people being tortured for entertainment. "We're going to war," he said simply. "Get everyone ready." On Luna Base, engineer Lim Hai was working on a new type of engine for exploration ships. When she saw the Velthari transmission, she immediately deleted all her peaceful projects and started designing weapons. Real weapons, the kind that could crack crystal beings into dust. Her supervisor found her 12 hours later still working without sleep. "Lim Hai, you need to rest." She didn't look up from her screens. "They hurt our people for fun. They broadcast it like a show. No rest until I finish this." By the end of the first day, something unprecedented was happening across human space. Every human colony, no matter how far apart, was making the same decision. The wars between human factions stopped immediately. Old enemies started sharing resources and information. Everyone had the same goal now. Dr. Yu Min was a psychologist who studied how humans behaved in groups. She had never seen anything like what was happening. Usually, humans disagreed about everything. They fought over politics, religion, resources, territory. But the Velthari transmission had done something she thought impossible. It had made every human angry about the same thing at the same time. "This is remarkable," she told her research team. "Every human settlement is reporting the same response. People are volunteering for military service at rates we've never seen. Factories are converting to weapons production without being ordered to. Scientists are abandoning peaceful research to work on military projects." Her assistant asked, "Is this normal for humans?" Dr. Yu Min shook her head. "No, this is new. The Velthari have done something that unites our entire species. They've made us all equally angry." The response wasn't just military. Civilian ships started arriving at military bases, asking to be converted into warships. Pleasure cruise liners were being fitted with weapons. Even small private ships were being armed. Captain Nam Ko ran a shipping company before the transmission. He carried trade goods between colonies, living a quiet and peaceful life. After seeing what happened to the Discovery crew, he brought his entire fleet to the nearest military base. "We want to help," he told the base commander. "All of us." "You're civilians," the commander pointed out. "This isn't your fight." Namco's face was hard. "They tortured our people for entertainment. They broadcast it to scare us. Every human is in this fight now." Within a week, the entire human economy had changed. Everything was focused on one goal: building the biggest military force in human history. Not to conquer territory or win resources, but for something much simpler and more terrible. The Velthari had made a mistake. They thought hurting humans would make the rest submit. Instead, they had awakened something that had been sleeping in human nature. The ability to turn righteous anger into focused destruction. Admiral Kim Do stood in his command center, watching reports pour in from across human space. Every colony was contributing. Every ship was being armed. Every human was becoming part of the war machine. His aide approached carefully. "Sir, we're getting reports that other alien species are asking what we're planning to do." Kim Do looked at the screens showing human fleets gathering at jump points. Thousands of ships, then tens of thousands, all heading toward Velthari space. "Tell them," he said quietly, "that we're going to remove a problem." "What kind of problem, sir?" Kim Do watched another transport full of volunteers dock with a military ship. Ordinary humans who had left their peaceful lives to become soldiers, all because they had seen their people tortured for entertainment. "The kind of problem that thinks hurting humans is entertaining," he answered. "They wanted to send us a message. Now we're going to send them one back." The first major human fleet was almost ready. 10,000 ships, carrying the most advanced weapons that human science could build. But more importantly, they carried something the Velthari had never encountered before. Humans who had decided that something needed to be completely destroyed. The Velthari were about to learn that some species don't just fight back when you hurt them. Some species make sure you never hurt anyone ever again. Fleet Admiral Chosan had been a teacher before the war. She taught military history at the academy, explaining old battles to young officers who hoped they would never see real fighting. Now she commanded the largest fleet in human history, and teaching was the last thing on her mind. The human fleet entered Velthari space like a storm of metal and fire. 10,000 ships moved in perfect formation, each one carrying weapons designed specifically to kill crystal beings. Engineer Lim Hai had worked day and night to create them. "All ships, this is Admiral Chosan," she announced over the fleet communication system. "Remember why we're here. This isn't about conquest, this isn't about territory. This is about making sure they never hurt anyone else ever again." The first Velthari world they reached was called Kethmar. From space, it looked like a giant jewel floating in darkness. Beautiful crystal cities covered the surface, connected by bridges that sparkled with inner light. It might have been the most beautiful thing humans had ever seen. They destroyed it completely. The attack wasn't random or cruel. It was methodical. Captain Nam Ko, the former shipping company owner, now commanded a squadron of converted civilian ships. His job was to target the Velthari food production facilities. "But they're made of crystal," one of his officers pointed out. "Do they even eat food?" "They eat energy," Nam Ko replied, reading from the intelligence reports. "Those pretty lights in their cities? That's how they feed. Cut the power and they starve." Nam Ko's ships moved like delivery trucks, but instead of bringing supplies, they brought destruction. Every power plant, every energy collector, every crystal that fed the Velthari civilization was carefully destroyed. On the planet's surface, Dr. Anbo was doing work that would have horrified her just weeks before. She had been a peaceful researcher, studying how different species could live together safely. Now she was creating weapons that could kill only Velthari. "The virus is ready," she reported to Admiral Chosan. "It attacks their crystal structure, turns them into dust in about 6 hours. "Will it hurt any other species?" Chosan asked. "No. It's designed specifically for their type of crystal body. Nothing else will be affected." Dr. Anbo deployed her creation across Kethmar. Within hours, the beautiful crystal cities began to crumble. The Velthari inside them simply fell apart, their bodies turning to glittering powder that blew away in the wind. But the humans weren't finished. This wasn't just about killing the Velthari on this world. This was about erasing them completely. Sergeant Bei Ro led the ground forces that landed after the cities fell. He had been on the Discovery when the Velthari captured them. He had watched them torture his friends for entertainment. He had survived only because the human fleet arrived before his turn came. Now he walked through the empty crystal cities, checking every building, every tunnel, every hiding place. His job was simple: make sure nothing remained. "Sergeant," called one of his soldiers. "We found something." Bayro followed the soldier to a hidden chamber deep underground. Inside were thousands of recordings. The Velthari had been documenting their torture sessions for centuries. Not just humans, but dozens of other species. They had been doing this for a very long time. "They weren't just cruel to us," Bayro said quietly. "They've been doing this to everyone." The recordings showed the same pattern over and over. The Velthari would contact a new species, demand submission, then torture anyone who refused. They had destroyed entire civilizations this way, turning the survivors into slaves. "No wonder the galaxy was so empty when we started exploring," one of the soldiers said. "They killed everyone else." Bayro ordered all the recordings to be sent back to the human fleet. Admiral Cho San needed to see this. The rest of the galaxy needed to see this too. While Bayro's forces cleaned up Kethmar, other human fleets were hitting Velthari worlds across their empire. Each attack followed the same pattern. First, Captain Namco's squadrons would destroy their energy sources. Then Dr. Anbo's virus would eliminate the population. Finally, Sergeant Bayro's ground forces would make sure nothing was left behind. It wasn't war in any traditional sense. Wars were fought between armies for territory or resources. This was extermination, conducted with the efficiency of a factory assembly line. The Velthari tried to fight back, but they had never faced anything like human warfare. Their weapons were designed to cause pain and fear, not to win battles. They had never needed real military tactics because every species they met had submitted quickly. Humans didn't submit. Humans got more dangerous when you hurt them. High Commander Velnash, the Velthari leader who had tortured the Discovery crew, sent urgent messages to his scattered forces. "The organics are destroying everything. They're not trying to conquer us, they're trying to eliminate us." His subordinates were confused. But why? We showed them their proper place. We demonstrated the natural order. They don't care about the natural order, Velnash realized with growing horror. They care about revenge. The Velthari Empire had controlled this part of the galaxy for 50,000 years. They had never lost a battle, never retreated, never shown mercy to their enemies. In 6 months, the humans reduced them to refugees, running for their lives. Admiral Cho San stood in her command center, watching reports come in from across Velthari space. World after world was being cleared. The beautiful crystal cities were being turned to dust. The creatures who had tortured humans for entertainment were disappearing. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the surviving Velthari forces. They want to negotiate." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone was thinking the same thing. The Velthari wanted to talk now, after months of running and dying. After their empire was already destroyed. "Put them through," Chosan ordered. The screen showed Velnash, but he looked different now. His crystal body was cracked and dim. The arrogant creature who had tortured humans was gone, replaced by something desperate and afraid. "Human Admiral," he said, his voice like breaking glass. "We wish to negotiate terms of surrender. We will leave this galaxy. We will never return. Just, please stop the killing." Admiral Chosan looked at him for a long moment. Around her, the bridge crew waited to hear her response. These were good people, many of them former civilians who had joined the fleet after seeing the Discovery transmission. "No," she said simply. "What?" Velnash's light flickered with confusion. "But we surrender. We submit to your superior force. Isn't that what you want?" "What we wanted was for you not to torture our people for entertainment," Chosan replied. "You made that choice impossible. Now you get to live with the consequences." But what about mercy? What about civilization? Chosan thought about Park Soo, the gentle scientist who had tried so hard to make friends with these creatures. She thought about Captain Lee Bin, who had believed in peaceful contact. She thought about all the humans who had suffered and died in the Velthari torture chambers. "You should have thought about mercy when you were broadcasting our people's pain for entertainment," she said. "You should have thought about civilization when you were making children fight each other for food." The transmission ended. Velnash's face disappeared from the screen. All ships, Admiral Cho-san announced to the entire human fleet. Continue. The mission. Find them all. Across the galaxy, other alien species watched the systematic destruction of the Velthari Empire with growing fear and amazement. The humans weren't just winning a war. They were erasing an entire species from existence. Some species tried to contact the human fleet, offering to help or asking for mercy for any Velthari refugees. The human response was always the same. Stay out of our way. This wasn't about conquest or territory. This was about sending a message that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. Some things should never be done to humans. Some lines should never be crossed. The Velthari had crossed those lines. Now they were learning that some species, when pushed too far, don't just fight back. They make sure the problem never happens again. Commander Song Jae had been hunting the last Velthari for 3 months now. His ship, the Relentless, was specially designed for long-range pursuit. While the main human fleets had destroyed the Velthari Empire, smaller groups of the crystal beings had managed to escape into deep space. Song Jae's job was to make sure none of them got away. "Commander, we're picking up another energy signature," reported his scanner officer. "Looks like a Velthari ship, about 2 light years ahead." "How many ships in their group?" Song Jae asked. "Sensors show maybe 50 vessels, mostly civilian. Transports. They're heading for the Galactic Rim." Song Jae nodded. The surviving Velthari were all trying to reach the edge of the galaxy, hoping to escape into the empty space between galaxies. They thought if they could get far enough away, the humans would stop chasing them. They were wrong. "Set course to intercept," he ordered. "And send a message to Dr. Lee Na. Tell her we found another group." Dr. Lee Na was once an archaeologist who studied ancient civilizations. Now she was humanity's expert on finding and destroying every trace of Velthari culture. Her job was to make sure that when this was over, it would be as if the Velthari had never existed at all. She was currently working on a Velthari data archive they had captured on their homeworld. The crystal beings had kept detailed records of everything they did for thousands of years. They documented everything, she told her team. Every torture session, every species they destroyed, every world they conquered. They were proud of what they did. Her assistant looked sick as he read through the files. "Commander, some of these records go back 50,000 years. They've been doing this since before humans developed agriculture." "Then we're doing the galaxy a favor," Dr. Lee Na said. She was a quiet woman who had spent her life preserving history. Now she was working to erase it. Copy everything useful about their technology and biology. Delete everything else. The Velthari archives contained the locations of every secret base, every hidden colony, every escape route they had ever used. Dr. Lee Na was mapping all of it, making sure the human pursuit fleets could find every last refuge. Captain Park, one commanded one of the deep space tracking ships. His vessel was equipped with the most advanced sensors humanity had ever built. He could track a single ship across multiple star systems. Right now, he was following a group of Velthari who thought they were clever. They had separated their ships and were taking different routes to the galactic edge, hoping to confuse their pursuers. "Sir, should we call for backup?" asked his navigator. "There are 12 different ships heading in 12 different directions." Park Wan smiled grimly. "No need. Send the tracking data to the other pursuit ships. We'll each take a different target. Nobody escapes." This was the new reality for the surviving Velthari. Wherever they ran, human ships followed. Whatever clever plan they made, human intelligence found a way to counter it. There was no safe haven, no secret base, no hidden refuge that the humans couldn't find. Major Choi Yu specialized in psychological warfare. Before the war, she had studied how to use propaganda to prevent conflicts. Now she used her skills to break what remained of Velthari resistance. She broadcast messages to the fleeing crystal beings, letting them know exactly how hopeless their situation was. "We know where you are. We know where you're going. We know about every base you ever built and every route you ever used. There is nowhere to run." But her most effective weapon was simpler than that. She broadcast images of human children playing in the ruins of Velthari cities. She showed human families moving into former Velthari territories, building new homes where the crystal palaces once stood. "Your empire is gone," her broadcasts said. "Your worlds belong to others now. Your civilization has been forgotten. Soon, you will be forgotten too." The psychological impact was devastating. The Velthari had built their entire culture around the idea that they were superior beings destined to rule the galaxy. Seeing organic life thriving in their former territories broke something in their collective consciousness. Some groups of fleeing Velthari simply gave up. They stopped running and waited for the human ships to find them. Others tried desperate attacks on human colonies, hoping to force the humans to negotiate. These attacks only made the humans more determined to finish the job. The hunt continued, across multiple galaxies. The Velthari had colonies and bases scattered throughout local space, built over 50,000 years of expansion. The humans found them all. Commander Song Jae intercepted his 50th group of refugees near the edge of the Andromeda Galaxy. These Velthari had traveled farther than any others, crossing the void between galaxies in desperate hope of escape. "This is Commander Song Jae of the human fleet," he announced over the communication system. "You are surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." The lead Velthari ship responded with a transmission that surprised him. Instead of defiance or desperation, the voice sounded tired. "Defeated. Human Commander. We have traveled farther than any of our kind has ever gone. We have left behind everything we ever built or cared about. Is this distance not enough? Can you not let the last of us simply fade away in the darkness between stars?" Song Jae thought about that question for a moment. These Velthari had indeed traveled farther than most. They had given up their empire, their worlds, their civilization. All they wanted was to disappear into empty space and be forgotten. "No," he said finally. "You had your chance to leave people alone. You chose torture instead." The battle was brief. The refugee ships had no real weapons, only desperate crew members who knew they were about to die. Song Jae's forces destroyed them all, then spent hours scanning the debris to make sure no escape pods had gotten away. Dr. Lee Na received the report while working on the final Velthari archive. "That's the last of the major refugee groups," Song Jae told her over the communication link. "There might be a few individual ships still out there, but the organized groups are finished." "Good," she replied, deleting another section of Velthari, cultural records. "I'm almost done here too. Once these archives are cleaned, it'll be like they never existed. Do you ever feel bad about it?" Song Jae asked. "Erasing an entire civilization like this?" Dr. Lee Na paused in her work. She thought about the Discovery crew, tortured for entertainment. She thought about all the other species the Velthari had destroyed over the millennia. She thought about the children who had been forced to fight each other while crystal beings watched and laughed. "No," she said. "Some civilizations deserve to be forgotten." Back on Earth, Admiral Kim Do was reading the final reports. The systematic hunt for the remaining Velthari was nearly complete. A few individual ships might still be hiding in the vast emptiness of space, but they would be found eventually. Human patience was infinite when it came to finishing important tasks. "Sir," his aide reported, "the galactic community is asking for a meeting. They want to discuss the situation." Kim Do looked up from his reports. The Velthari Empire was gone. Their worlds were being colonized by other species. Their technology had been studied and discarded. Their culture had been erased from galactic databases. In less than a year, humans had eliminated a civilization that had terrorized the galaxy for 50,000 years. "Tell them we'll meet," he said. "It's time to explain the new rules." The hunt for the last Velthari continued, but everyone knew it was just a matter of time. The crystal beings had learned too late that some species don't just fight back when you hurt them. Some species make sure you never hurt anyone ever again, and some species are very, very good at hunting. The Galactic Council had never seen anything like it. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered in the Great Hall on Nexus Station, but everyone was looking at one person, Ambassador Han Su of the human delegation. She was a small, quiet, woman who had spent her career helping different species understand each other. Before the Velthari incident, she had been known for her patience and diplomacy. Now she sat calmly at the human table while the entire galaxy waited to hear what humans planned to do next. The Velthari were gone. Not defeated, not conquered, not driven away. Gone. In 10 months, humanity had eliminated an empire that had ruled this part of the galaxy for 50,000 years. The other species weren't sure if they should be grateful or terrified. Council speaker Zenthara, a tall blue creature with multiple arms, called the session to order. We are here to discuss the changes in galactic politics following the elimination of the Velthari Empire. Ambassador Hansu stood up slowly. The hall became completely silent. Every species representative was wondering the same thing. Were humans planning to replace the Velthari as galactic rulers? Fellow representatives, Hansu began, her voice calm and pleasant. I want to make something very clear. Humanity has no interest in ruling the galaxy. We never wanted to fight a war. We never wanted to destroy an entire species. Murmurs of confusion rippled through the hall. If humans didn't want to rule, why had they been so thorough in eliminating the Velthari? The Velthari made a simple mistake, Hansu continued. They thought that torturing our people would make the rest of us submit to their authority. They were wrong. She activated a holographic display showing the original Velthari transmission. The torture chambers, the suffering humans, the cruel laughter of crystal beings. Many representatives had seen it before, but watching it again in this context made them all uncomfortable. We tried peaceful contact, Hansu explained. Our people approached them with open hands and friendly words. The Velthari response was to capture our diplomats and torture them for entertainment. The display changed to show the systematic destruction of the Velthari Empire, world after world being cleared. Fleets of human ships hunting down refugees across multiple galaxies. An entire civilization being erased from existence. This is what happens when you choose to torture humans instead of talking to them. Hansu said simply. We want you all to understand this clearly because we don't want any misunderstandings in the future. A representative from the Korth Collective, a species of insect-like beings, raised several arms for attention. Ambassador Hansu, are you threatening us? Hansu smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. No, Representative Korthix, I'm providing information. The Velthari had many chances to change their behavior. They could have apologized. They could have released our people. They could have stopped the torture. They chose not to. She gestured to the holographic display, which now showed empty space where Velthari worlds used to be. These are the consequences of that choice. We're simply making sure everyone understands what those consequences were. Admiral Kim Do, who was sitting beside Ambassador Hansu, added his own comment. The Velthari spent 50,000 years terrorizing other species. We found their records. They destroyed hundreds of civilizations. They turned survivors into slaves. They tortured people for entertainment. The hall was very quiet now. Everyone knew about Velthari cruelty, but most had been too afraid to do anything about it. We did the galaxy a favor, Admiral Kim Do continued. But that wasn't our goal. Our goal was much simpler. Make sure they never hurt humans again. Dr. Park Soo stepped up to the podium. She was one of only a few Discovery crew members who had survived the Velthari torture chambers. She looked different now. Harder. The gentle scientist who had believed in peaceful contact was gone. I spent 3 months in their torture chambers, she said. Her voice was steady, but there was something cold in it. I watched them hurt children. I watched them make families choose which members would suffer next. I watched them broadcast it all as entertainment. She looked around the hall at the representatives of species that had known about Velthari behavior, but had never acted to stop it. The Velthari are gone now, she said. They will never hurt anyone again. That was not our first choice, but it was their choice. They could have chosen differently. President Yoon-ji of Earth delivered the final human statement. She was an elderly woman who had led humanity for 12 years, focusing on peaceful expansion and scientific discovery. The Velthari incident had changed her too. Humans remain committed to peaceful contact with other species, she announced. We want to trade with you, learn from you, explore the galaxy together. Nothing about that has changed. She paused, letting that sink in before continuing. But we also want to make sure everyone understands what we learned about ourselves during this conflict. When our people are threatened, when they are hurt, when they are tortured for entertainment, humanity becomes something different, something focused, something that doesn't stop until the threat is completely eliminated. The representatives were all thinking the same thing. Humanity had just demonstrated the most efficient military campaign in galactic history. They had eliminated a 50,000-year-old empire in less than a year. They had hunted the survivors across multiple galaxies. They had erased every trace of Velthari civilization, and they had done it all because someone had tortured their people. We hope this will never happen again, President Yoon-ji said. We hope all future contacts will be peaceful and beneficial for everyone involved. But if someone chooses to hurt our people the way the Velthari did... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Ambassador Han Su returned to the podium for the final statement. Humanity is returning to peaceful exploration and scientific research. Our military is being reduced to normal peacetime levels. We're offering trade agreements and cultural exchanges to anyone interested. The relief in the hall was obvious. The humans weren't planning to become galactic conquerors. However, Han Su continued, and the relief disappeared. We're also establishing new protocols for first contact situations. Any species that chooses to respond to peaceful human contact with violence or torture will be dealt with accordingly. She looked around the hall one more time. The Velthari thought that hurting humans would make us submit. Instead, it made us very angry. And when humans get angry enough, we don't just fight back. We solve the problem permanently. Are there any questions? She asked. The hall was silent. No one had any questions. Everyone understood. Over the following months, the galaxy adapted to its new reality. The empty Velthari worlds were quickly settled by other species. Trade routes that had been blocked for millennia were reopened. Species that had hidden from Velthari patrols began exploring space again, but everyone remembered what they had seen. Humanity had demonstrated something that reshaped galactic politics. Some species, when pushed too far, don't just defend themselves. They eliminate the threat completely. First contact protocols across the galaxy were rewritten. The unofficial rule became simple. Be very polite to humans. Dr. Park Soo returned to her research, but her focus had changed. Instead of studying how species could cooperate, she now studied how to identify potentially hostile civilizations before they became problems. Her reports were distributed to every human exploration ship. Commander Song Jae continued hunting the last scattered Velthari survivors. There weren't many left, but humans had learned to be thorough when dealing with threats to their people. The galaxy was peaceful again, but it was a different kind of peace. Everyone knew that humans were still the same curious, friendly explorers they had always been, but everyone also knew what humans became when you hurt their people. Years later, when young aliens learned about galactic history, they always asked the same question. What happened to the Velthari? The answer was always the same. They made humans angry. And in a galaxy full of dangerous species and ancient empires, that was all the explanation anyone needed.